So guys, in today's video we are going to talk about how to make crafting professions profitable in the War Within. I know that a lot of you is experiencing only red numbers in your profession windows, and hopefully I can help you out with this today. So basically you're going to be able to apply those methods to all of the crafting professions in this expansion. I hope you will like some of these methods and they will help you out a lot. So we're going to talk about Thaumaturgy, we're going to talk about crafting buffs, we're going to talk about the compounding effects of your profession stats, and we're going to talk about refining. So there will be a lot of stuff in this video. I hope you will find it informative, but let's go get your crafting professions profitable. So in this first example, I am going to show you my scribe here, which is currently showing you almost all red numbers, right? It looks like none of the crafts is profitable. However, right now in the expansion, it is really min-maxy. You cannot go in with a casual approach, sadly, into profession, because you will have to take every single step to make it as profitable as possible and to get your materials as cheap as possible. If you are a new player or are new to crafting, this might seem daunting, but I am going to show you the basics of the compound effect of actually crafting your materials yourself, and you will see how much cheaper it is, and this is how everyone is doing that is currently crafting in the War Within. Basically, I will just throw this out there. You will be needing craft sim to do any kind of crafting in the War Within, so if you don't have that, make sure you go and get that add-on. It is really powerful and it is mandatory, otherwise you're not gonna be able to see any kind of numbers. Other than that, I would highly recommend you to get TSM or Auctionator or both. I prefer TSM. That, in my opinion, is the best price source because you need a price source for craft sim to work perfectly. So I would highly recommend you to go and get that. I am not going to go through details in this video on any kind of profession setups, etc., because I have individual videos on that on my channel. So let's go ahead and first talk about the compound effect, or I'm not really sure what to call it. That's just what I call it. My English is not the best, but what I mean is that you will actually take advantage of your crafting stats in multiple crafts. So for every craft you're doing, the more your stats will compound and get better and better. So let's say you want to go ahead and craft the Boundless Cipher to sell on the auction house for a profit. The game used to be way more simple, and you could actually earlier probably go ahead to the auction house, just buy the Apricot Ink, the Arathor Spear, and start crafting the Boundless Cipher for a profit. Nowadays, that's not the name of the game. What you actually have to do to craft the Boundless Cipher for a profit is to craft the Apricot Inks yourself. As you can see here, to craft the Apricot Inks, you will need Lure Drop Pigment and Necros Pigment. Those you will actually have to craft yourself as well to get the cheapest prices possible to craft this as a profit. As you can see, this craft is giving you negative numbers, and that is because it is pulling the prices straight from the auction house. But what I can tell you is those materials are significantly cheaper if you are milling them yourself with a optimal setup for milling. What you will have to do to see green numbers here is actually to go ahead and do the full process yourself. You will start out by milling the herbs to get the pigments to craft the ink, to get the inks to craft the Boundless Cipher, and so on and so forth. That is why you will only see red numbers, is because it is not actually using your prices of the materials. It's using the auction house just raw prices. So what you will have to do if you want to actually see your green numbers is getting the true value of the pigments that you will get by milling yourself. I have a spreadsheet in my Discord with the milling process and with the ink that you can go ahead and get. It's completely free. It's just to join the Discord in the description, and I'm adding way more stuff. We have tailoring stuff, etc. in there as well. So just what I want to say with this compound effect is that you will have to craft your materials yourself to see better numbers. Then in craft sim you can price override the stuff with the numbers you have. So for example, if you mill and you get your accurate number for the orb you need, all you have to do is get into craft sim and you can override. Let's say this is 590 on the auction house. When I craft this right now, it's probably going to be somewhere around 3 gold and 50 silver, I would say. I'm not completely sure. Then I would look at a profitable craft all of a sudden. And also if I do that with the Blessing Blossom, and that is actually right now 4 gold, 5 gold on the auction house. Let's say I can do this for 4 gold instead. As you can see, now I'm crafting very profitable inks. When I then have crafted these inks for a lot of profit, let's say I craft them for 18 gold each, when I go ahead to the codified greenwood, when I use them, now this one is green either way, but let's say I gonna craft the codified greenwood now, I can override my ink price, which I now do for 18 gold instead of the auction house price of 30. then you will see this is actually my accurate crafting price for the codified greenwood. And this applies to everything. Now, this was just example prices, so they are not 100% accurate, but as you guys can see, this applies to everything. So this is the compound basic process of getting your things profitable. Let's go ahead and talk about thaumaturgy. Okay, thaumaturgy is a craft in alchemy that allows you to turn some materials into other ones. This means that you can, for example, use 20 Arathor spear here to break it down to other materials. This has a kind of specific list. If you, for example, break down Arathor spear, it will give you a set of different materials. It is not random, so there are some sheets out there that you can get and see what kind of materials you will get when you are breaking down all of the different stuff. I know that the most popular things to break down is going to probably be the gloom chittins or the storm charged leather. It is going to give you a lot of value. In this way, you can actually break down materials to get other materials way cheaper to be able to use them when crafting. And if you use them in the compound process that we talked about earlier, then that whole process will be even cheaper and you will make even more profit. So the profit will significantly increase itself on every step you take in the process. Now, this might sound hard. Do you need all professions in the game to do this? And my answer to that is actually no. Thaumaturgy is not a must. This is really the overstep. You do not have to do thaumaturgy for most of the stuff. It is one extra step that is going to give you more margins and more profitable crafts. However, the time spent is going to be significantly higher when doing thaumaturgy as well, because it takes quite some time to do it. What I would recommend is only do thaumaturgy if you really know what you're doing, or if you want to try it out, or if you really want to min-max. And for thaumaturgy, of course, you're going to be required quite some knowledge points in alchemy as well, because you're going to need full points in thaumaturgy here and all of the 4 nodes down here. You do not need a transmutation, but you need the 4 down here. So it's going to be quite a lot of points to fill this out. So if you haven't started a alchemist yet, it is quite a barrier to entry. But this is, as I said, not a must. And I would say most people is not using thaumaturgy when crafting because it is so time consuming, but it is a way to go if you want to increase your profits, or if you want to turn those like specific crafts that might not be profitable even with a compound effect. But it is still a really viable option to increase your profit margins. And for alchemy, sometimes getting your herbs cheaper and stuff can actually sometimes even be needed because it is such a competitive profession. Sadly, I cannot go more deeply into thaumaturgy in this video because that would take so long time, because it is pretty much a whole profession in itself. So it is really much information to know about it. There are great videos out there on YouTube already. I know that. Sadly, I don't have a thaumaturgy video yet. I used to do a lot of thaumaturgy in the beginning of the expansion, but nowadays I very rarely do it actually because it takes too much time for me. But if you want to look into it, there are sheets and there are great videos out there, that I can tell you. But let's look quickly at the finishing reagents as well, because this is something that significantly can decrease your crafting costs as well on doing some crafts. So let's say you have a flask of alchemical chaos here. This is obviously going to look very unprofitable now because I have just a bunch of random materials here, no set prices, and I don't have any of the alchemy crafting buffs that you get from crafting flasks that will significantly increase your profession stats. But let's say I were going to craft a rank 3 alchemical chaos flask. Me as a goblin, I can already use 2 less lure drop rank 3 to get my crafting cost down a lot, as you can see here. Being a goblin is going to decrease your crafting costs in alchemy a lot because you get the 5 extra base skill, which means a lot in alchemy right now. But there are also a lot of different finishing reagents that you can find on the auction house for a different amount of gold. So for example, the apprentice crafting license can be used in a craft to increase your skill by 5. If you were to use one of those, that would mean that you could actually decrease 1 more lure drop and can still hit your rank 3 flask with 1 less lure drop. So if the apprentice crafting license is worth less on the auction house than a lure drop, that will be profitable for you. You can take this to other steps. You can use the stack of pentagold reviews. This is going to give you even more skill, and now all of a sudden, for example, you can craft this alchemical chaos with 5 lure drop rank 2 instead of 8 rank 3, or yeah, you get the point. So buying these kind of finishing reagents for a cheaper price than your herbs are valued at will be able to increase your profits a lot as well. Those can be hard to find in a large bulk. Sometimes it is not possible, but I know that a lot of people are using this right now to get cheaper crafts. This is something you can experiment with, but as you can see, my crafting cost was way higher in the beginning, and now my profit is down to only minus 98 gold. If I were to unequip that and go with pull 8 here, I would be at 264, so almost 200 gold cheaper crafting cost using the goblin ratio and the stack of pentagold reviews. So checking if it's worth using finishing reagents is very much viable, and I think you should do that if you're planning on crafting. So there are a lot of ways to actually get your materials way cheaper, and this is what all crafters do to actually be able to craft for profit. We are now going to take a look at refining. So refining is something you can do in both mining and herbalism, and it means that you, for example, can convert rank 2 herbs into rank 3 ones. So let's take the lure drop for example here. So if you were to see that 5 lure drop rank 2 is cheaper than 1 lure drop rank 3, then it is worth it to convert the lure drop rank 2 to the lure drop rank 3, and in this way get the lure drop rank 3 for a way cheaper value. In this case, it seems to be really good because the lure drop rank 2 is only around 80 gold and the lure drop rank 3 is 88 gold. So there you are already saving 8 gold per herb, which is really amazing. However, I'm going to show you now why this is so powerful and why this is one of the easiest steps to take in my opinion. Because if I were to, for example, now buy 250 lure drop for around 4,000 gold, of course now I am using the bountiful seasons again. This is really important because it gives you resourcefulness doing this, so that will increase your profit margin. I am now using my herbalist and I am using the deafness tool. I am also using a dark moon firewater when I do this because that will increase my crafting speed a lot. So if you see now, this is going to be really quick to craft. But now if you were to have the weaver's lair buff that I don't have because I'm currently in lock modan, my craft is going really slow, but otherwise the craft would be flying so fast that you can't almost even see the bar because you're crafting so fast. But even with this craft speed, it is going really quick. So as you can see, this is going to be one of the easiest methods to get your herbs, for example, cheap than for crafting in, for example, alchemy, or when you're going to mill them in milling, or whatever you're going to do with your herbs. This is doable exactly in the same way with mines. You can convert bismuth to rank 3 from rank 2. You can also refine the other stuff, but you will have to have the specs here, which I don't, but I think the bismuth is the one that is going to be the only one that is viable for this. The other ones almost don't even vary in price. So now by converting my lure drops in this process, I actually made 51 lure drops and it's worth 500 more gold on the auction house. So you can even sell those on the auction house for a profit now if you want to only do this step, or you can use them way cheaper than in your other professions to increase your margins even more. So as you can see, there are a lot of ways to actually get your materials cheaper, and the crafters that are using this is the crafters that are making a lot more gold than you are when they are crafting, and those things is even making or breaking it. If you're not doing anything of this, you are not going to be able to craft for profits almost anything. So it is required to take those extra steps in this expansion to actually be able to craft for a profit. Maybe you think that is bad, or maybe you think that is good because the barrier to entry is a little bit more, but that's totally up to you what you think. I think that it is both good and bad. It can be a little bit daunting for casuals. So for the crafting buffs that we are going to talk about in this video is mostly going to be the file of bountiful seasons, which is going to be a mandatory file to use whenever you craft anything that is using resourcefulness as one of the stats, because this one adds a lot of resourcefulness, which is really powerful, and it is absolutely mandatory to use. This one is a season file, so basically on the winter season it is giving you resourcefulness. There are a couple of months left, probably like 4 months left, so you still have a lot of time to use this, and it is absolutely mandatory to see your margins. If you're not using this, maybe you will never see green numbers because it's so important. Other than the file of bountiful season, I would highly recommend you to get the A-rated file of Quick Hands, which is a file from Dragon Isles. It is still working in the War Within. The UI here is just a bug, so it is working in the War Within. So if you're not using this already, go ahead and use it. You will craft so much faster. You will make so many more crafts per time you spend crafting. So go ahead and get this one. Having maximum crafting speed is so powerful now in the War Within, and you will make so much less gold not having it. So I highly recommend you to go and get that. Also, Weaver's Prodigy, that is a profession buff that you can get from Ashkahet by choosing the Weaver's pack and hitting the required renown. If you want to learn more about crafting buffs, you should go ahead and watch this video over here.